Sophia was a young woman with dreams. She worked as a secretary in a big company in the city. Every morning, she took a bus to work. She lived in a small flat alone and had no car of her own. She hated her life and always wished to be rich. One morning, Sophia ran late for work. She missed the bus. She stood on the roadside, looking worried. A yellow taxi stopped beside her. The driver smiled and said, "Good morning. Do you need a ride?" Sophia looked at him from head to toe. The driver wore a simple shirt and jeans. His car looked old. She laughed and said, "No thanks. I don't enter such cars." Then she turned away. The taxi driver didn't say a word. He drove away slowly. Sophia stood there for another 20 minutes. No other taxi stopped. She was angry and tired. Finally, she walked to the office and got in late. Her boss scolded her. She said nothing. She only sat at her desk and cried quietly. That day, nothing went well. Her computer froze, and a file she needed got deleted. She felt like everything was against her. Later that evening, while walking home, the same taxi drove past her again. The driver looked at her, but didn't stop. This time, she felt bad. She thought about her words earlier and how rude she was. But she still said to herself, "Who cares about a poor taxi driver?" She got home, tired and hungry. There was no food at home. She looked around her small room and sighed. She wished for a better life, for a miracle, for someone rich to save her from this struggle. She had no idea that the same taxi driver she insulted that morning held the key to her future. The next day at work, everyone was talking about something new. There was a rumor that the company had been bought by a billionaire. Nobody had seen him yet, but the workers were excited and scared at the same time. Sophia didn't care. She was still angry about how her yesterday went. She just sat at her desk and tried to do her job. Later that afternoon, the company called for a meeting. Everyone had to go to the conference room. Sophia followed the others. Her heart beat fast. She was not sure why. When they entered the room, a man in a fine suit stood in front of them. He looked young, tall, and handsome. His eyes were kind, but his face was serious. "Good afternoon," he said. "My name is Mr. Daniel Harris. I am the new owner of this company." Everyone clapped. People whispered things like, "He's so young, and he looks rich." But Sophia's mouth dropped open. She knew that face. It was the same taxi driver she had insulted 2 days ago. She froze in shock. Her legs felt weak. She looked again to be sure. Yes, it was him. Same smile, same voice, but now in a rich man's suit. Daniel looked around the room slowly. His eyes landed on Sophia for a moment. She quickly looked down. Her face was red with shame. After the meeting, everyone went back to their desks. But Sophia couldn't work. She kept thinking about what had happened. She mocked this man. She laughed at him. Now he owned the building she worked in. That evening, as she walked out of the office building, she saw a black car parked outside. The driver stepped out and opened the door. Daniel came out wearing dark glasses. He walked past Sophia. "Good evening, sir," one of the staff said. Daniel replied kindly, "Good evening." He looked at Sophia for a second. She quickly bowed her head and said, "Good evening, sir." Her voice shook. He nodded slightly, but said nothing to her. Sophia walked home that evening feeling like her world had turned upside down. She kept asking herself, why didn't I just enter that taxi? She now understood something deep. You should never judge people by their looks. Life can surprise you in ways you never expect. She went home and sat quietly on her bed. Her heart beat fast. She had made a big mistake. And now, that mistake was her new boss. But she didn't know the story was just beginning. Sophia couldn't sleep that night. She kept thinking about Daniel, the man she once mocked, now her new billionaire boss. She felt ashamed. What if he fires her? What if he tells others what she did? The next morning, Sophia arrived at work very early. She wanted to act serious and hardworking. She cleaned her desk, arranged files neatly, and smiled at everyone. But deep inside, she was afraid. By 9 a.m., Daniel came into the office. He was not alone. 2 other men walked with him. He looked confident and calm. He greeted the workers politely and asked to speak with each department one by one. Sophia's department was next. As he entered the room, all the workers stood up. He smiled and told them to sit. "I want to know you all better," he said. "Let's grow this company together." Sophia tried to hide at the back. She didn't want him to notice her. But Daniel walked around, talking to each staff politely. He asked for their names, what they do, and how long they've worked there. Finally, he stopped at Sophia's desk. "What's your name?" he asked, smiling slightly. Sophia swallowed hard. "So, Sophia," she said. "Sophia Green, sir." He looked at her for a moment. Then he nodded and said, "Nice to meet you again, Sophia." Her heart skipped. Again? Did he just say again? Sophia looked at him, eyes wide. Daniel smiled and walked away. The other workers didn't understand what he meant, but Sophia did. She felt cold and hot at the same time. That day, she couldn't concentrate. She kept replaying those words in her mind. "Nice to meet you again." Did he still remember what she said to him at the roadside? Was he planning something? At lunch, Sophia sat alone. Her best friend at work, Jenny, came to her and said, "Why are you so quiet today?" Sophia forced a smile. "I'm just tired." But deep inside, she was breaking. Her pride was hurt. Her past mistake was now sitting in front of her daily. She wished she could go back in time and accept that ride. Later in the day, Sophia got a message from the secretary's desk. "Mr. Daniel wants to see you in his office." Her hands shook. Her legs felt weak. She stood up slowly and walked to his office. She knocked on the door. "Come in," he said. She opened the door and stepped inside. It was the first time she saw his personal office. It was beautiful, filled with expensive furniture. Daniel stood by the window. "Sophia," he said, "have a seat." She sat down slowly. "I want to ask you one question," he said, turning to face her. Sophia looked up, her heart beating fast. "What do you really think of me?" he asked with a calm face. Sophia sat in the soft chair, her hands shaking gently. The office was so quiet she could hear her own heartbeat. Daniel stood in front of her, calm and serious. "What do you really think of me?" he repeated. Sophia opened her mouth, but no words came out. She wanted to speak, but her throat felt dry. Daniel sat down across from her and waited. Finally, Sophia said, I made a big mistake, sir." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What mistake?" She lowered her eyes. "That morning when you offered me a ride. I was rude. I judged you by your car and your clothes. I thought you were just a taxi driver. I didn't know who you were." Daniel nodded slowly, saying nothing. Sophia continued, "I'm sorry for what I said. I didn't mean to look down on you. I was having a bad day, but still I was wrong." Daniel looked at her quietly for a few seconds. Then he said, "Do you treat all people like that when you're having a bad day?" Sophia shook her head. "No, sir. I've learned my lesson." Daniel stood up and walked to the window. "You're lucky, Sophia," he said. She looked at him, confused. "Lucky?" "Yes," he replied, "because I'm not the type to take revenge. I don't like to punish people for their past actions, but I do like to teach them something." Sophia listened, feeling nervous. "You see," he continued, "that morning, I wasn't testing anyone. I just wanted to help. I dress simply sometimes to see how people treat strangers. It helps me understand the kind of people I work with." Sophia's eyes widened. So it was not just chance, it was part of his way of learning about others. "I didn't plan to meet you again," Daniel added, "but life brought us here." He turned back to her and said softly, "I forgive you, Sophia. But let that moment always remind you, never judge people by their appearance. Everyone deserves kindness." Sophia nodded, tears filling her eyes. She was grateful and ashamed at the same time. "Now," Daniel said, smiling, "go back to work. Do your best. And don't be afraid." She stood up slowly. "Thank you, sir." As she walked out of his office, her heart felt lighter. The fear was gone. But something new had started to grow inside her, a deep respect for Daniel. He wasn't just rich. He was kind, smart, and humble. For the first time, she wanted to know more about him, not as her boss, but as a person. But she didn't know that this story was far from over. A bigger surprise was still waiting. After her meeting with Daniel, Sophia worked harder than ever. She arrived early, stayed late, and completed every task with care. People in the office noticed her change, but only she knew the reason. She wanted to prove she had changed. Every time she saw Daniel, her heart beat faster. He didn't treat her badly. In fact, he treated everyone with respect. He smiled, he greeted workers by name, and he made the office feel better than before. One Friday afternoon, Sophia was working at her desk when she received an email from the front desk. It read, "You are invited to a special dinner hosted by Mr. Daniel Harris. Formal wear required. Venue, Golden Palms Hotel, 7 p.m. Her eyes widened. She looked around to see if anyone else got the same email. But no one said a word. Slowly, she asked her coworker Jenny, "Did you get any dinner invitation?" Jenny shook her head.
No.
What dinner? Sophia's hands began to shake. Why was she the only one invited? She reread the email. It was real, and it was personal. That evening, Sophia wore her best dress. It was not expensive, but it looked neat. She arrived at the hotel early and was guided to a quiet table near the garden. Daniel was already there, sitting in a black suit. He stood up and smiled when he saw her. "Good evening, Sophia," he said kindly. "Good evening, sir," she replied, trying not to look nervous. "Please sit," he said. She sat, confused but curious. "I wanted to speak with you outside the office," Daniel said. "Somewhere more relaxed." Sophia nodded. "Okay, sir." He smiled. "Let's not do sir tonight. Just Daniel." She blinked. "All right, Daniel." For the next few minutes, they talked like old friends. Daniel asked about her childhood, her dreams, and what she truly wanted in life. Sophia opened up. She told him about growing up without her parents, working to pay her school fees, and how life had been hard. She said she often dreamed of a better life, but didn't know how to reach it. Daniel listened quietly. Then he said, "You're stronger than you think." She looked at him. "You really think so?" "Yes," he replied. "And that's why I chose you." "Chose me for what?" she asked softly. He leaned forward, looking into her eyes. "I want to train someone to become more than just a worker, someone who can lead. And I believe that person is you." Sophia gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. She didn't know what to say. All she knew was that something big had just started. From mocking a taxi driver to dining with a billionaire, life had truly changed. But was it only about work? Or something more? Sophia left the dinner that night with a full heart. Her mind was spinning. Daniel wanted to train her. He believed in her. She had never felt this way before. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It felt personal. The next week at work, things started to change for her. Daniel began giving her special tasks. He invited her to important meetings. He even asked her to help prepare reports for the company board. Other workers started noticing. "Why is the boss always talking to Sophia?" one person whispered. "I heard he's training her for something big," said another. Some were happy for her. Others were jealous. But Sophia stayed humble. She worked hard and kept to herself. She didn't want anyone to think she was being favored. One day, after a long meeting, Daniel asked Sophia to stay behind. "You did well today," he said. "I'm proud of your growth." "Thank you," she replied with a shy smile. He looked at her for a moment. Then he said, "You know, Sophia, there's something I admire about you." She looked surprised. "Me? What is that?" "You changed," he said. "Not many people do. Some stay proud. But you accepted your mistake and grew from it." Sophia felt her eyes sting with tears. "I used to think success was only for the rich," she said quietly. "But now I see that it's also for those who are ready to learn." Daniel nodded. "Exactly." There was silence for a moment. Then he added, "I enjoy talking to you, Sophia. Not just about work." Her heart skipped. "I enjoy it too," she said softly. He smiled. "Would you like to have dinner again this weekend?" Sophia looked at him. She didn't know what to say. Was this still about work? Or was this something else? Yes, she said after a pause. I'd like that. That weekend, they met again. This time, they talked about life, hobbies, and favorite memories. They laughed. They shared stories. They felt at ease. For the first time, Sophia saw a side of Daniel that was not about money or power. He was kind. He was real. And he was looking at her differently now. As the night ended, he walked her to the gate of the hotel. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Thank you for inviting me," she replied. He held her hand for a brief second before letting go. As she entered a taxi and looked back, she saw him still standing there, watching her go. Sophia smiled to herself. The man she once laughed at was now someone she admired deeply. But deep down, she wondered, was this only the beginning of something greater? After the second dinner with Daniel, Sophia felt different. She smiled more. She felt confident and happy. Her work improved even more. She no longer felt like the poor girl trying to survive. She was becoming a woman with purpose. But not everyone was happy for her. At work, some people began to gossip. "I heard Sophia is using charm to rise up," said one woman. "She must be dating the boss," said another man. "That's why he gives her special treatment." Sophia heard the whispers behind her back. She tried to ignore them, but they hurt. Even her friend Jenny started acting cold. "Why didn't you tell me you and the boss are now close?" Jenny asked one day. It's not like that," Sophia replied. "He's just helping me grow." Jenny didn't believe her. "You changed, Sophia. You don't talk to me like before." Sophia was sad. She didn't know how to explain things. She was just doing her best. She never asked for Daniel's attention. It just happened. One afternoon, Daniel called Sophia to his office again. "You've done well on the new project," he said. "The board is impressed." "Thank you," Sophia replied with a small smile. He looked at her closely. "You look troubled. Is something wrong?" Sophia hesitated, then spoke. "People at work are saying bad things. Some think I'm using you to get ahead." Daniel sat up straight. "That's nonsense." "I know," she said. "But it's affecting me. Even my friend Jenny is acting strange." Daniel looked serious. "People always talk when they see someone growing fast. Don't let it stop you." Sophia nodded slowly. He added, "You don't owe anyone an explanation. Just stay true to yourself." Sophia felt a little better. But later that day, something shocking happened. A fake email was sent around the office. It claimed that Sophia and Daniel were in a secret relationship. It said she was getting paid extra and didn't deserve her position. The email spread fast. Everyone was talking about it. Sophia found out while she was working. Her hands began to shake. She ran to the restroom and cried. She felt exposed and hurt. Why would someone do this to her? Daniel found out too. He called the IT team and ordered an investigation. Within hours, they found out the truth. The email was sent from a staff member named Mike. Mike was jealous because Sophia got the job he wanted. Daniel fired him immediately. Then he called a full staff meeting. He stood before everyone and said, "Lies will never win in this company. We value hard work and honesty here. If you can't accept that, then this is not the place for you." He looked at Sophia and gave her a respectful nod. From that day on, everyone treated her with more respect. But something else was growing between Daniel and Sophia now. Something more than just work. After the meeting where Daniel defended her, Sophia felt something change. Not just in the office, but in her heart. She saw Daniel not just as her boss, but as someone who truly cared about her. He stood up for her when no one else did. He protected her. He believed in her. And now, her feelings were becoming stronger. At work, things became calm again. No more gossip. No more whispers. People respected her now. Even Jenny came back and apologized. "I'm sorry, Sophia," she said. "I let jealousy blind me. You didn't deserve how I treated you." Sophia smiled. "It's okay. I understand." Later that week, Daniel asked Sophia if she could join him at a charity event. It was a formal evening where the rich and powerful came to donate to help poor children. Sophia was surprised but happy. I've never been to something like that, she said. You'll be fine, Daniel replied. You have more class than you think. That night, Daniel sent a car to pick her up. Sophia wore a simple but beautiful blue dress. When she arrived, Daniel was waiting at the entrance. You look amazing, he said. Sophia smiled shyly. Thank you. Inside the event, many people stared at them. Daniel introduced her to some of his business friends. He never called her staff. He called her a smart woman with great potential. Sophia's heart melted. During dinner, Daniel leaned in and whispered, I've been thinking about something lately. She looked at him. What is it? I can't keep pretending this is only about work, he said. The truth is, I care about you. Sophia felt her cheeks grow warm. She didn't know what to say. He continued, I've watched you grow. You are strong, humble, and kind. You've touched my heart, Sophia. Tears filled her eyes. I care about you too, she said softly. At first, I was ashamed of what I did. But now, I'm glad our paths crossed. Daniel reached for her hand under the table and held it gently. Let's take it slow, he said. But I want you to know, this is real for me. Sophia nodded. It's real for me too. That night, as Daniel drove her home himself, they didn't say much. But the silence was sweet. When they got to her house, Daniel walked her to the door. Good night, Sophia, he said, looking into her eyes. Good night, Daniel. He didn't kiss her. He just smiled, and that said everything. As Sophia closed her door behind her, she leaned against it and smiled. The same man she had once ignored and mocked was now the one she was falling in love with. Destiny had truly worked in a strange way. But the story was not over yet. One final surprise was still waiting. Sophia woke up the next morning with a full heart. Everything felt like a dream. She smiled as she remembered the charity night, Daniel's kind words, and the way he held her hand. She had once mocked him. Now, she couldn't stop thinking about him. At work, things became even better. Daniel was still professional, but there was a soft look in his eyes whenever he spoke to her. Sophia worked harder than ever, not to impress him, but because she believed in herself now. One Friday morning, Daniel sent out a message to all staff. Mandatory staff meeting at 3 p.m. today. Important announcement. Everyone began to wonder what the meeting was about. Some thought he was stepping down. Others guessed he was promoting someone. At 3 p.m., the whole office gathered in the conference room. Daniel entered, holding a file in one hand and a calm smile on his face. Good afternoon, he said. Good afternoon, sir, they all replied. I called this meeting because I have two major announcements to make, he began. Everyone leaned forward. First, Daniel said, I will be opening a new branch of this company in another city. And I need someone who can manage it well. People started whispering. He continued, after careful thinking, I have chosen someone who has shown growth, strength, and true leadership. Sophia's heart began to pound. The person I've chosen to lead the new branch is Miss Sophia Green. Gasps filled the room. Sophia's eyes widened. Her hands shook. She stood up slowly, unsure if she heard correctly. Daniel looked at her and smiled. You deserve it. Congratulations. People clapped. Some smiled. Others looked shocked. But this time, no one said anything bad. Sophia walked to the front. Daniel handed her the file and whispered, You earned this. I'm proud of you. She smiled, holding back tears. Then Daniel said, Now, for my second announcement. The room went silent again. He took a deep breath. Some of you know I'm a private man, but I believe in being honest with those I work with. So I want to say this with full respect to everyone here. He paused. I'm in a relationship with Sophia. A loud gasp filled the room. But I want you all to know this didn't start from favoritism. It started from growth, honesty, and respect. And if anyone has a problem with it, I understand. But I won't hide it. He looked around the room. No one spoke. Then someone clapped. And another. Soon, the whole room clapped. Sophia looked at Daniel. He reached for her hand in front of everyone. They stood together, not as boss and worker, but as two people who had found something special. From that moment, nothing could break them. Months passed, and Sophia's life changed in ways she never imagined. She moved to the new city to manage the new company branch, just like Daniel had planned. It was hard at first, but she gave it her best. Every day, she grew more confident, more powerful, and more proud of the woman she had become. Daniel visited her every weekend. They spent time together, away from work, just being themselves. They talked, laughed, and sometimes sat in silence. They didn't need fancy places or expensive gifts. They just needed each other. One quiet evening, Daniel took Sophia to a small park near her house. It was where they often walked after a long day. The sun was setting, and the sky was full of colors. As they walked, Daniel stopped under a big tree and faced her. "Sophia," he said, holding her hands, "do you remember the first time we met?" She laughed.
Yes.
"I was rude. You were kind." He smiled. "I never forgot that day. Not because of what you said, but because I saw something in you that day, something strong and bold. I knew there was more to you than what I saw." She looked into his eyes. "And I saw someone who changed my life." Daniel took something from his pocket. It was a small box. He opened it slowly. Inside was a beautiful ring. Sophia gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. Daniel knelt down. "I was once just a taxi driver to you. But now I hope I'm more than that." "Sophia Green, will you marry me?" Sophia covered her mouth. She couldn't believe it. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Daniel. 1,000 times yes." He stood up, placed the ring on her finger, and hugged her tight. In that moment, everything around them disappeared. It was just them and their story, one that began in a way no one expected. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Friends, family, and even former coworkers came. Some cried. Some smiled.
All were happy for them.
At the wedding, Sophia stood with a microphone and said, "Months ago, I mocked a man because of his clothes and his car. I thought I was better, but I was wrong. That man became my boss. Then he became my friend. And now he is my husband." The crowd clapped loudly. She smiled at Daniel. "Never judge anyone by what you see. You don't know who they truly are or who they might become." Daniel held her hand. "And sometimes," she added, "the person you ignore could be your destiny." They lived happily. They built businesses together. They gave back to the poor. And they never forgot where it all began, with a ride she refused. Treat everyone with kindness and respect. You never know who they really are or how they may change your life. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and follow our channel for more life-changing stories. Let kindness lead your path. Your destiny may be just around the corner.